Good evening. Welcome to my craft room, Sissy's Cards and Crafts. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in Eastern Ontario, Canada. Pop a couple things back here. So, how's the day? How was the weekend? My weekend was kind of here or there. It was a little bit of everything. So, got through it. And now we've got some cold weather. So, like I say, I'm in Eastern Ontario. It has been hot. They're forecasting a hot summer. But for some reason, it got cool enough that I actually had to turn on the furnace. I don't know if I would have kind of gone that far, but I definitely would have turned the air conditioner off, which I would never have thought I would say, as you know, that lovely age and heat, hot flashes and such happening. But it is unseasonably cool, which, kind of a blessing, but yet a little worrisome because the plants aren't so happy. But anyways, that was my weekend. We're now into another week. So we are at June 16th. Again, this is the May to August catalog that we're not pulling out of tonight. We're actually going to go back and look at, let me just check. I think it was an online release in the spring, early spring, and it is Cute as a Bug Suite. In Canada, it's $103.75. You get the stamps and dies, the DSP or designer series paper, ribbon, and embellishments. So it's quite a cute set. I am going to add a couple different things with this set this week. One, to incorporate some other things, but two, this suite, as amazing as it is, it's limited in its sentiments. So I'm going to pull in the Creative Haven sentiments. So there's a few different ones. I like the way they're printed here, or what the stamps list off. So we're going to use them, and then of course they come with a die. There is a suite for this as well, and I'll share that information tomorrow, because I think we're just using one stamp from that tonight, which we could use any of these for. And I'm not live tonight because it is very late. And so actually, I said it was Monday, and then I tell you it's the 16th, because we are now like just past midnight. So we're still going to call it a Monday. Then these dies are so cute. They cut out some of the DSP. They give you these little teeny tiny die cuts that are they're almost embellishments themselves. You get some mushrooms. So if you like the mushroom or the toadstool look, you can have that. There's flowers, which we'll do a card with this week with just flowers. Or there's the bugs. And like I say, they basically will cut out either the stamped images, obviously, or even some of the DSP, which is really quite nice to do. I don't think we're doing that tonight yet, though. So that is the set, just so we're all on the same page here. This is Cute as a Bug. Sweet. Now, it's also Sweet Bugs, and you can get that as a bundle. I'll have to bring up the price for that, but for this, it is, like I say, it is $103.75 for all of that. I'm just trying to see what it is so it's number 167007. as the item number, and I will of course link that in the video tonight so you can see that. The ribbon is quite adorable. I don't have it out. I must have tucked it away. I thought I had it out. We're not using that tonight, obviously. But these little gems are so cute. They keep actually going on back order. They are available as we speak, but they're quite thin, so they're not going to create a huge, the dimensionals are actually thicker than these. They're not going to create a huge bulk. But you have these lovely little ladybugs. They're all the same size. And then there's dewdrops, which are 2 sizes. I don't know if everybody's calling them dewdrops or if that's rather what they're called, but everybody is calling them like a dewdrop. So they are quite adorable. And like I say, the ribbon is this really soft, adorable ribbon, which we will use later on. So those are the things. The other thing I want to remind you of before I forget is this is the product of the month, the Wild Bunch stamp set. I have mine on order, so when we get that, I have some ideas of doing that, and we'll kind of do a week with that. If you want to follow along, of course, now's the time to order that. But it is cute. It's one of those ones that I think will last. You know, we've had some of those specialty sets that come out that, you know, you think, okay, that's cute for maybe 1 or 2 cards, but then that's it. But this has got that happy birthday, which we can always use that sentiment in different font. Thank you for all you do. Hi, friend, sending love, or just a little note. And then these adorable little critters on that background stamp, a couple of embellishment stamps, like a birthday present, or a present, doesn't have to be birthday, party hat, some foliage, and then a little heart. So looks adorable. I'm excited to get mine and utilize it. Okay, before we actually start creating, I just want to quickly show you the DSP or Designer Series paper. And, you know, I have cut into it, so, you know, bear with me. This is one sheet that we're going to use tonight. These little critters are not, they're too small to be cut out with the dies, but they are adorable. And then there's this background piece. So there's your A side and B side. The A side is usually very much for the suite or the bundle, and then the B side is more universal for everything. But, you know, of course you could use this for anything. And I think the next set or next suite I use, we will actually pull some of this in because it does go nicely with that. So again, very adorable. These ones will not coordinate with the dies. Another B-side that we can use. We will be using this tonight. I didn't particularly like this until I started to use it. I don't believe the dies work for this. I'm pretty much certain they don't, but let's just double check. So these are all of the dies. So usually when you get a die open like this, this is what will cut out your stamps or your paper, your DSP. So that is definitely the way it goes. These stamps that are solid, or dies rather, that are solid, are what we call detailed dies, and they won't, they're meant to cut out in cardstock or paper, and there's usually not a stamp that goes with it. And so as you can see, there's no toadstool stamp on that. However, you could use this and try to capture, like there. We could probably cut something out. It's not going to cut it out perfectly, but it would probably be okay. I haven't tried it, but these are not going to be for that. They won't cut out. And you can see here, just while I've got, like, here is this tiny, we have this die that cuts out 3 different, we've got a butterfly, a snail, and a dragonfly. And I've been enjoying cutting them out of foil paper foil cardstock, and then they're like little embellishments for my cards, which I think we're actually going to use that little guy tonight. So I will just put him aside. Okay, so that is that paper. This backside eye door, we will use it in using the next suite coming up because I think it's adorable as well. This is the paper that does cut out, coordinate with the dies. So a lot of them, the things, even these little toadstools will cut out. I believe this guy will, these guys don't, the praying mantis don't, none of them. But these caterpillars with the leaf will. Some caterpillars are facing the other way. They won't work, but that will. These little ants will cut out, and you get 3 separate. The die is 1, so it cuts all 3 out at the same time, but they are separate. Here is this that actually cuts out this little flower and grass. There's a coordinating stamp as well. Then you have your little watering can that cuts out the bee, the little ladybug reading, the lily of the valley. This flower, I believe, cuts out as well. And as I said, the toadstools. And I believe this guy does as well. I don't think, pretty sure the one holding the flower does not. Yeah, it's just the one with the book and this one that cuts out. So lots of interesting ones. It makes it so versatile. Then we have these backgrounds like we did with the last set. I will be using one of these with a card. Then this B-side, which is quite nice. And I think that's it. I guess I did have full sheets I could have shown you instead of, pulling out ones that were already hacked into. And then there's this one, which we definitely will be using with the next suite. But I love the little bees in here too. They're just so adorable. And then there is this B-side, which is very similar to that other one that we saw. This one here. Okay, so cute. We will be just keeping this out because we will be using this tonight. All right, so this is the card we will do. A couple things I wanted to show is just that you don't really have to rely on stamps a whole lot. Layering here is what I wanted to feature and how it just dresses things up. So we are going to use the Ladybug embossing folder. This comes with the suite that we'll be using next week. I can't think of the name of it, but it's got the jam jar with it. And it comes with this one, which is so sweet, but it has the ladybugs. So, it kind of fits with this. It's a 3D embossing folder, so it's a nice deep emboss. And this is what it looks like. So it works quite nice. I really like it. And I don't know, you can't really see the depth of that, but it really bumps it out nice. So you don't have to emboss. What I want to point out is how this layers and how the layers actually bring the card to life. So I've cut everything out here except for the individual pieces that we want. Here's our piece for inside. Like I did with the last suite, I will be creating, I'm in the process of creating the info sheets that will be on my blog, and you can download, and I'll have all of the measurements on that. So what we're going to do is we have our card base, which is crumb cake. We're doing it in the portrait manner, or easel manner. Manner is not the word I'm looking for, but that's what we're going to go with tonight because obviously it's a little bit late. So you could just layer this on like that. And like I say, it could just be a piece of cardstock that is, 1/4 of an inch smaller than your card base. And then you could just layer that on there like that. And that is perfectly fine. And then embellish like we're going to. So we've got some twine we're going to wrap around. You could just wrap those around, put some dimensionals on the back of there, and you're good to go. Like that would be fine. But I was looking at it and I'm just like, I need, for a couple reasons, and I'll explain that. But one is just to really bring this up a level. And so I've just cut this like 1/8 of an inch. So it is, or is it 1/16 of an inch? I think it was 1/16 of an inch. Just so it's ever so slightly bigger than the base. And what that's going to do is just really elevate and bring out this embossed piece. So when you are doing an embossed thing, so a couple things to note with embossing folders. You have, there's the two different types. There's 3D, which are thicker, and you need to run them through your embossing machine with a different layering technique of your plates. But then there's the line here. So you want to make sure that your Stampin' Up! Logo is at the front. That will make sure that you are going to get that embossed, which is where it pops up out of the paper. Sometimes you want the debossed, which is fine. You're still going to do this the same way. You just flip it over and it's debossed, right? But with this, you want to make sure you've lined your cardstock up with either the bottom of the folder if you need a large piece, or you're going with that line there. And that ensures that you're getting a straight, it's going to all be even and straight. This one's a pretty scattered folder, so it really didn't matter a whole lot, but it's always just best practice. Always, 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 always put your folder in with the spine first. And so as you roll it through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, the pressure has room to escape at the bottom here instead of going out here. And ask me how I know. It only takes you to basically ruin one embossing folder to say, I will never do that again. But so again, we'll do, I would like to do some videos just on different types of embossing and how to do it and things to think about. Put in the comments if that's something you're interested in and what specific style of embossing. So this is like dry embossing, or you're using an embossing folder. That's what this is. There is also heat embossing, which we're going to do as well tonight. But you know, there's a lot more to it than what I'm showing you in a quick video. So if you want me to do a video just on embossing, please let me know. Okay, it's kind of tricky to do this with such a fine edging or matting on this. So I strongly recommend using the liquid glue. Doing a seal, it's going to be almost an immediate bond, and that's going to be problematic. So this will go on our card base. I'm not going to adhere it right now because I want to run my ribbon around. Now with this, I ran it around the embossing folder, not the mat, and it actually kind of pulled in the cardstock a little bit, because when you do run it through an embossing folder, it weakens that because it's compressed it, right, to make those impressions. So you want to make sure that you have a good solid base behind it. And that was part of the reason I did the matting on the back. And for this, our DSP or designer series paper is not the weight or the thickness or the same as what our cardstock is. So I wanted to bump this up. I wanted to put dimensionals under it. And if I'd put dimensionals just under the cardstock or the DSP, it would have worked, but it wouldn't have sat quite as nice. So if I would almost want a full sheet to do that. So what I've done here is I've just put it on that cardstock. So now I have a double mat, and I think it helped break those colors up as well and really make it pop. So we will put our dimensionals on here. And like I said, if I was using just the DSP, you can buy a sheet that's just solid sticker sheet. That is a foam sticker sheet, I guess is what it's generically called. And you can cut out of that. You can run your, I had one sitting here for a long time on my desk that I just cut out, die cut. And so my whole die cut was backed with this. If I was going to just use a DSP, that's probably what I'd want to do, because that would give it structure. But here, now that it's got some good structure, I can just add my 6 dimensionals on it. I hope that makes sense. Like I say, it's late. I'm not thinking clearly. I did have a big sleep. I don't know. Please share with me. I'm struggling because of a few different reasons. One, just the age and having hot flashes and just feeling whooped. Then I'm struggling with arthritis, psoriatic arthritis. And so I'm managing to get through my days, not too bad. But I get up earlier in the morning, anytime from 6:30 to 8:30. Sorry, I need a good swallow there of my water. And then 6:30 at night, I get supper done, and I'm just done after that. I don't know if it's because I've been going all day, and then I sit down and I'm just exhausted, or whether it's just because that's when my meds I take, usually 7 and 7, and so come 6 o'clock, I'm just kind of done again. I don't know what it is, but tonight and most nights lately, I've had to just go have a bath because I get so chilled, and then I just feel sick. And so tonight, that's what I did. I'm just trying to basically find a general center spot here is all I want to do. I'm not getting the center because these are so wide. But I'm just going to adhere or help stabilize my twine with these is what I'm doing. So yeah, anyways, I had a bath, and then I just had to lay down. My husband went to work, and I'm like, I'm done. So poor Josh is sitting all on his own, and I feel terrible about it. But, oh my goodness. And I slept for a couple hours. So now that I'm up, I'm fine. I'll be able to go to sleep quite easily. But okay, so enough babbling on about me. So this, I'm holding this to one side, one to stabilize it and try to figure out where I'm going. I'm just below center. And you can see here as I'm pulling, like it with the other card, it pulled right on where there's a little embossed ladybug, and I was pulling on that. So now that I've got the cardstock beneath, it's given me some structure. So holding the end over here, that's 1. Now I have 2 and 3, and then I'm coming back around. So I kind of wanted a 3 level here. And then I'm just going to snip it off. And what I also did is I took the one and I just slid it underneath here. So I'm tying all of the 3 together. Does that make sense? Actually, that's not exactly what I did. How did I do that? Okay. So, well, I guess I did tie a bow. Hopefully I left myself enough now if I'm going to tie a bow. Like I've shared, the arthritis in my fingers make it a little bit more difficult. But with the twine and doing this, now I have it secured. I don't really need to worry about holding it like I had to before. So we're just going to tie. I'm good. I'm good. And with the twine as well, you can get your bow a little bit straighter, easier because of the thinness of it, whereas a ribbon, you can really struggle to kind of get it where it's sitting the right way. Sometimes it goes crooked. And we got a Miss Daisy Do here. She's going to bark. No, go lay down. Go in your bed. Go in your bed. She's saying, Mom, it's bedtime. We did the bedtime pee. We had our treat. Now it's bedtime. But Mommy's busy. How many of you have dogs or pets? And if you do they craft with you? Or basically, do they have a spot in your craft room? Daisy loves my craft room. That's where her favorite bed is. So she quite often comes in here and sleeps anyways, which is nice. All right. So that is the base for the card. And it's going to go on there like that. Simple as that. Easy peasy, right? So I'm going to take my glue. You could bump this up. If I put ribbon on it, I probably would have, but with the twine, it's not going to make that much of an impact. Okay, make sure your bottom's at your bottom. And then we're going to just put this on here. And like I've said, with that glue, or everybody says, your Tombow liquid glue gives you wiggle room. So I can find that and put it down. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? So simple. I'm just going to put my twine. I like to take the end and just stick it in a slit that I've created in the top. So I know where the end is, because isn't it annoying to try to find the end of your piece? Okay, so the next couple things that we've got on our card is we've got a couple cutouts. Our sentiment, which says you deserve all the good things. And I have embossed that, heat embossed. And then I have a little butterfly here that I've used as an embellishment. And I think we'll use instead this lovely little snail. Maybe we can even put him on the stump. Okay, so you'll notice here, like I was saying, sometimes you get mirror images of things. So here would be one of those examples, which I think maybe I will use on this one. Now, I'm told these look like the Stampin' Up scissors. They are not. These are just a different brand. I don't even remember what brand they are, but I've had them for a long time. So I'm just going to use these, but you can see where the snips or the more precision cut scissors have a finer point at the end, so it makes it easier to do the fussy cutting. And then with this one, we use the two little dancing bugs, but I really like these two little bugs here as well. So I think I'm going to do these two little girls here. I think they're quite sweet. And just change it up a bit, because you could use whatever you want. I was even thinking, looking at the DSP, and what I'm doing is I'm just cutting out what I want. I was even thinking, you've got a stump here. We could have almost cut out this and laid it right on top. Just to show you, I had a piece cut out where the stump is. That stump is the same. I could have almost cut that right out and bumped it up if I had done that correctly. They cut the right piece of that out. I think that would have been cute. And I probably will on another card. I will probably do that. So to fussy cut, like we've been saying, and you hear everybody say, good sharp pair of scissors. I did see one demonstrator tonight. So like you watching this video of mine, I watch videos as well. And other demonstrator was saying how she liked the longer scissors, like your regular sort of ribbon scissors or something. And I think that would be too cumbersome for me, but she did an amazing job with fussy cutting. So you're going to just keep the paper in your scissors closer to the fulcrum, or where the scissors are, the blades are joined, and move. And then just as you slowly close your scissors to cut, you move your paper around. And I'm trying to get just about a 1/16 of an inch edge on that. And then we're just going to, I like to round off and not have a sharp corner. And there we go. I don't advise myself. It's entirely how well you cut. But when I first started doing this, I'm like, I think it looks better if I cut right to the edge of the picture and not leave a little edge around it. And the reason I thought of that is because, as you can see I'm going to cut these two little girls out separate. The reason you can see is our background paper is different colors. And that's, like, I think I've already shared something that kind of bothers me a little bit. Because if you're a perfectionist, like I've been known to be, this background color here, so that green is not the same green. So that's why for the first few times when I was fussy cutting something out, when I started to make cards, I would cut right on the line. So I didn't have any of the background color showing. So then I thought it didn't matter. Well, do you know how precise you need to be to make that look good? First off, when you're doing a circle, it has to be a circle. You can't not make it a full perfect circle, or it just doesn't look right. And then you're always going to have paper that does show. So like in here, these gaps, you can't get in there. That's not easy to do. So it's best to leave that edging. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think, because I just feel that people get too hung up and afraid to fussy cut because they think it's going to look bad. But really, when you leave a little bit of an edge, it makes up for a lot of different things. And if you find it hard, like trying to get in around those feet, well, leave that and come back to them from a different angle. I'm going in one direction because that's what's natural for me as a right-handed person. But if what I'm cutting out isn't quite conducive to that angle, well, just leave it and come back and do it from a different perspective or a different angle, and it will help. And you know what? You're your worst enemy. You're your worst critic, I guess I should say. And so don't get too hung up on it, because what you might be thinking, oh, everybody's going to notice that. I bet you nobody's going to notice it. So see, now I'm coming back and I'm just going to try to get in there. And I might have to do a couple different rounds, but now I've made it a little bit easier to get in there. Just do it in bits too if you need to. Okay, so that's your fussy cutting lesson for the day. Now these two little guys, I'm going to put them down here where the one is giving the other one a flower. And if I was to glue this directly on, it does make a little bit of, to me anyways, it really pulls out the fact that those are two different colors. So popping them up or putting a dimensional under them almost makes it look like it's a shadow sometimes. It definitely pulls it away from that color, so it's not quite as evident. And like I say, you're going to notice it. The person you're giving it to is just going to be thankful that they got a card, and they're really not going to notice it. I almost guarantee that. I don't know how many times I've gone to give a card to somebody and I just think, oh, didn't turn out quite the way I wanted, and I'm a little disappointed about it. But you know what? I think, well, I've got to give them a card because I made a card, and then I give it to them and they're just amazed. I just think it was the most detailed, amazing card they've ever seen, and they're so thankful. And so then you think, oh, you know what? I shouldn't get hung up on those things, right? Okay, because after all, it is homemade. Even when you go to the store and you buy quote unquote homemade designed card or whatever, and you see them now, like even Hallmark is doing something similar. You know it's not handmade, but it's meant to look handmade, right? All right, we're going to put this little butterfly up here, or flutterby, like one of my children used to call them. And they're not perfect. That's kind of what identifies them as a handmade card. All right, so I'm going to put this little one here. I actually made a card for my sister with these two little guys. And, you know, it was me giving her a nice little flower. And that's what I think of every time I see these two little bugs, is my sisters. Okay, so that is the front of our card. And like I said, I think I'm going to just put that little bug there. I am just going to put a little bit of glue on the back of this. Actually, it's easier to kind of just, with something this small, put your glue on the DSP, pull out your lovely sticky end of your take your pick tool, put that right side up, and then place it on the glue. And this putty works really well. It holds cardstock or paper or jewels or gems rather, and then it releases them quite easily once it gets stuck to the glue. So there we go. Now the only thing we're missing is our little sentiment piece. So let's do that. And like I said, it was heat embossed. And I had this little piece of paper. I had to put that on. I kept everything all together, and of course now it's not here. Probably got picked up in my DSP here that I had. No, yes, yes, no, maybe so. Shoot, I had just the perfect little piece. Oh, here it is. Right, okay. So this is just straight. I didn't want to make it too complicated. So what we did is I, again, got this Creative Haven, and one of the stamps says, "You deserve all the good things." So I took that out, get my block here. This on my block. It will have to go on a bit of an angle to stick on that. All right, so I need a piece of scrap paper. Those out of the way. And then we're going to have to get our Versamark. So this is that watermark stamp. And I used the copper one for this. And then you have your little embossing buddy. And what this is I think it's just like it's supposed to take the oils and the static off, because this is very staticky. Okay, so I've got my stamp. I've de-staticked my paper. I'm going to tap this in. It's a clear ink, so you can see it once you stamp on, especially if you're going on a darker piece of paper. I'm just going to try to get that in the middle. I don't think I got it straight at all, but we can fix that afterwards. Okay, so it shows you deserve all the good things. Now I want to take, and you can see that's like, you can see it on there. So if I left it, you'd still be able to see it. It'd lighten a bit, but I'm going to take my embossing powder. I like to give it a little bit of a shake. Maybe even do it a second time, different angles. Give it a little tap. Flick. There's a couple stray pieces on here. So I'm just going to get my brush and try to get them off. I'm just going to put it down here. There we go. Okay. Now, once you get that powder on, it can rub off, so be careful. But my rush time is kind of over with. I don't have to really rush to get that dealt with. I'm going to fold that so I don't make any more of a mess because there's a little residue on there. But you put your powder back in. You see there's a little residue here, so I'm just going to dry that off. Once you use this ink, you've got to use a still wet like any other ink. But now once I've got it here, I'm good. I don't have to rush and figure that out because it's going to stay unless I knock it all off, which hopefully I don't. All right, I'm just going to clean my stamp though because it is a stickier ink. So I'm going to just scrub it here on my Stampin' Scrub, dry it off. All good for the second go. Now I am going to use my reverse tweezers. So with Stampin' Up, you can get a set that an embossing kit, which comes with reverse tweezers and a tray. So instead of using a piece of paper, you have a tray that's got a little bit of a draining spout on it. And then it has your embossing buddy. So I'm going to use my heat tool, set it on 2, warm it up. Don't leave your embossing powder anywhere near here as you're doing it because it will harden. It only needs about 10 seconds to heat, and then come in here and start running it over the top or even the back. Some people will do. I've done that too. And you'll see that it starts to change quite quickly. See. Hopefully you can see. There we go. Starting to get melted. And that's what it's doing. It's melting that powder and it's giving you a nice raised edge. So there we go. Sorry if that was loud. I should have warned you. Sometimes you don't hear it at all, so I don't know. All right. That's good. It's pretty much instantaneously dry. So we're good that way. Sorry for my scrap paper. I tend to keep my scrap paper under my cutter here. So I'm gonna try to get it down to the edge so I know I'm out of view here. But what I like to do is position it, and then I look in my track, and if I can see any of the words in the track, then I move it. And now I'm just going to cut it. Do the next one. You want to make sure your ends are straight when you do this, because if they're not straight and you're using that as your base, that won't work. And push down really good on this part so it doesn't move when you go to slide your cutting blade. Because it's so small, I'm just going to use my scissors to just basically cut straight edge there. Well, is it straight? Now I'm going to question myself. Don't question yourself. It's such a busyness behind it. It really doesn't matter. And then, of course, I will bump this up as well. So you deserve all of the good things. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of my dimensional edge here. They do rip as well. So if you're just got that last little bit, you're fine ripping it. I'm going to put that there. I think I can get a dimensional on the end. And then, because it's such a thin piece, I do want it to stick up quite well. All right, put this on. And then we will put our sentiment on the inside, and gone a little bit over my time. I was hoping it would be just a half hour tonight, but just over, because I guess I yattered quite a bit at the beginning. So I'm just going to center that on there. Make sure you can still see the ribbon, and there we go. Now, the reason I wanted to show the inside part is because I was going to bring out the Stampin' Positioner, our lovely Stampin' Positioner here. And I want to use, so with this one, I had all, you deserve all the good things. And then inside, you've got this as, an encouragement sentiment to somebody. So because this is such, because this stamp has quite a bit in it, I want to make sure I get all of it onto my cardstock. I don't want it to not capture everything. So I'm going to position my cardstock. I found I need to use just a couple pieces of the tape as well. And I'll tell you why in a second. So then I put my paper on, and then I'm going to center this in the middle. Make sure it's down, face down, so it's going to stamp. When you place your top back on, make sure your Stampin' Up! Logo is correct. You're not looking at the bottom of it, because it will fit, but it's not going to stamp properly. These are all little springs. So you just position it, push this down. Now this is going to capture the back of that stamp. And this is why I like the tape, because especially when there's no ink on it, it sticks and it can pull the paper up. So I just find that's helpful. But once you've got ink on it, you're good. Okay. So the other thing with this is when I did this, I struggled with my ink pad. It just seems to be kind of needs to be re-inked. Maybe I'll just spread it around a little bit. So just I've got one of these cardboard spoons you get at the store now. I love when you go to Tim Hortons and you get soup and you get a cardboard spoon. It just doesn't really make any sense to me, but okay. Because it's a big stamp, I'm going to go from the top like this. And yes, I'm getting it on my Stampin' Positioner, but it's not going to be a problem. Okay, so I've stamped it up. So like I say, this isn't a problem. It's not even going to come in contact with the paper. Now I push down, give that a good push. So I'll pull this up into you a little bit. Sorry, it was down. Okay. Make sure it absorbs. Bring it up. And you can see where I've still got some area that didn't get some ink. So I'm going to ink it up again. And because I've not moved the paper or basically the stamp either, it's going to go right back on the same spot. So then I'm going to make sure I get that side. I found with my early espresso ink, I needed to do it 2 or 3 times. So one more time, and I think we should be good with that. Of course, if you've got a really juicy ink pad, probably once is enough. Okay. So I've stamped this 3 times, and I've got it pretty much well, I've got it in the exact spot every time. So that's one of the real beneficial uses of this. Now to clean this, I just take my Stampin' Spray. So I'm going to go out of view a little bit. I spray it, and then I've got just a microfiber rag that I will clean it off or dry it off with. I try not to use the microfiber too much on my stamp, but now that I've got a good clean on it, I could take it to my Stampin' Scrub and clean it up. by putting it on a block to help me with that if need be. And then notice, because it's brown, there is red in it, so it's going to stain your stamps. It doesn't change the way it functions. It still works the same. In fact, it just makes it a little bit easier to find sometimes. And then how I store this is I just keep those together and I put an elastic around it, and away we go. I did just realize I didn't quite get that all cleaned off now that it's on a white background. Okay. Show my little obsessions there about stuff. Okay. So there's our inside piece. So you deserve all the good things, and you've got this. A nice little pick-me-up for somebody that might be going through a tough time. All right. A little bit of glue goes a long way. So just put that on the back and lay your piece down. Okay. That is card 1 of our Sweet Bugs suite for this week. So join me again tomorrow, or I guess tonight, since we're like early Tuesday morning, for a second card that we are going to do using this set, or these sets. Again, I'm probably going to use the Creative Haven, and I will show you a little bit more about that set. But I've got a couple other cards here that we will be doing for this week. So yeah, thanks for joining. Have a wonderful evening and day tomorrow, and take care.